Okay, this is the end of an era. The Zordon era. Hey everybody, this is David, and today I'm going to be talking about the sixth season in the Power Ranger franchise, Power Rangers in Space. This is my all-time favorite season. It's above everything else that has come before and after the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, Power Rangers Zeo, Power Rangers Turbo, those ones that I already talked about, plus the ones that come after. And the reason why I called it the end of an era, the Zordon era, is because something happens in this season at the end that I'll spoil later. So if you haven't seen this season, I totally recommend you to watch it before you listen to this, because I might spoil a couple of things that will be in here. But before I get into it, I just want to say I totally recommend it. If you are a Power Rangers fan, if you loved Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, if you liked Power Rangers Zeo, if you thought Turbo was okay, if you watch all those seasons, this season kind of enriches your experience, because this does close the door on some storylines that were not properly closed in those other seasons. So let's begin. What did I think of this season? First of all, we got to talk about this plot of the season. Basically, the plot is pretty simple, just like most Power Rangers, all Power Ranger seasons are, where this season begins right after where Turbo left off, where the Turbo Rangers were left powerless. They left Justin behind. Justin was the Kid Ranger, the Blue Ranger in Power Rangers Turbo. And the four new Rangers who took over for Tommy, Catherine, Tanya, and Adam, the new Rangers, TJ, Cassie, Carlos, and Ashley, go into space because they had a message before the power chamber was blown up that Zordon was captured. And this was the driving force in the season, the MacGuffin, if you will. The MacGuffin is what the Rangers are looking for throughout. It's what anything, whether it's Indiana Jones or Star Wars, I guess, or any adventure movie that has something that they're going after. The MacGuffin so Zordon is pretty much that thing that the Rangers are going after to save or to get back. And with that, we also have some new villains, but we also find out that some of the old villains are tied into these new villains, specifically Dark Spectre, who is this new monarch of evil. He's the one that has brought together this ultimate alliance of evil, which was briefly mentioned in the very first episode of Power Rangers Zeo. Now, whether this was the real intention or not to eventually bring all the villains together under this ultimate alliance of evil, I'm not too sure. There was nothing really stated, but here it is. We see Lord Zed, Rita, the Machine Empire, Divatox, as well as this new villain of the season, Astronema, that we're going to get. And it's actually really cool when you get into this episode, because Zed and Rita haven't been seen since Turbo, a Power Rangers movie, which was the lead-in to Power Rangers Turbo. So they weren't at all in that season, except for an episode called The Millennium Message, where they were setting up this idea of an all-scale attack where all the United Alliance of Evil would eventually come together and destroy Earth. And this seems like it was the start of that. And it was really interesting because Astronema, to me, the space villains to me, are really great villains. I think with Astronema, her layer of depth that she has, especially when you find out that she is actually the sister of the Red Ranger. That's a mystery that's actually left throughout the season. That's why I don't want you knowing this if you haven't seen the season. I'm going to spoil this. But yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of layers to her. We find out that her real name is Corone, and she was corrupted by evil. She was kidnapped when she was just a child and turned evil. It's kind of like a Darth Vader, Luke Skywalker scenario when you go into this. And is that a coincidence? But because, they both take place in space? Maybe not, because the writers have said that they used a lot of, they reference a lot of their favorite sci-fi fantasy films purposely to acknowledge, because they're fans of those stuff too, so they wanted to kind of reference that, and this was definitely a big reference to the Darth Vader Luke Skywalker situation. We also got Ecliptor, great villain who serves as Astronoma's right hand man, and later on in the season we also get Darkonda, who is definitely one of the best. I think all these villains are some of the best, but Darkonda is the one that has ties into Astronema in who captured her, because we find out that Darkonda was the one that captured her when she was just a child, and that's who the Red Ranger's goal is, to get him. Speaking of the Red Ranger, Andros is the newest Ranger to the team. He runs into the Turbo team and gives them their new powers. And the great thing about this season is how the Turbo team, the second Turbo team, I guess I should say, when they run into Andros, they're powerless, and they kind of befriend Andros, even though Andros is very distant. He's a different kind of Red Ranger, and that's what I like about him. And they definitely focus on him the most this season, and I think that has to do with the 4 Turbo Rangers getting a lot of screen time in Power Rangers Turbo, so the writers realized, well, now we can focus on this Red Ranger and let him shine in this season, since those guys already got their focus already. And it was really good. I really liked Andros as a character. He's looking for his sister. He's definitely a loner. Something very different from previous Rangers who were just typical teenagers in high school. Literally, the first 5 seasons of the show, Mighty Morphin through Turbo, is basically Saved by the Bell with powers. Superpowers. And Space is where it started changing that dynamic, and I really love that about Power Rangers in Space. And Andros as a character was very different for Power Rangers, especially as one of the main characters. And that's what I thought was really good, and you felt that emotion. Sometimes it showed that when he found out who Astronema was, his sister, it showed that he could be, torn apart and emotionally compromised. And I thought that was great that a Ranger had weaknesses like that. I think all the other Rangers also could have been emotionally compromised, but I think this one was really well done in the way it was handled. And maybe it was because of Andros's past that we were trying to learn with him. Even though if you're older, you'll probably guess right away on who his sister is. It was definitely a really cool thing, and seeing how, as the season continued, how he would grow closer with the Rangers, more like a family. Specifically Ashley, who, Andros and Ashley are kind of like the Kimberly and Tommy of this season, where they have a romantic fling going on. It starts off as a flirtation, and Andros stays a little bit distant from her at first, but funny enough, halfway through the season, they finally decide to hook up, and then the rest of the season, you don't really see them dating much, but you see that a little bit here and there. We also got Zane, the first Silver Ranger, and this was really cool because Zane, the interesting thing about him that a lot of people might point out is that he looks a lot like Brad Pitt. And apparently the actor was a Brad Pitt lookalike at some parties or stuff like that. He played, I guess, some of his first acting gigs was to be a Brad Pitt lookalike. And I thought Zane was cool, he was more jokey than Andros. He got along with the team right away. He wasn't like distant. Maybe because he got hurt and Andros took blame for that, and he was like, Andros, come on, get over it. And so I actually liked Zane. I thought he brought something new to the table. Some of the episodes focusing on him were really nice. Him and Astronema got a little fling going on, and then when Andros found out about it later, he was like, kind of, you went out with my sister? And Zane is like, well, I didn't know it was your sister at the time. So I actually thought that was fun between the two of them. We also get quite a lot of returning characters in this season to kind of help wrap up the series. Not only did some returning villains return, like I mentioned earlier, we also got some returning Rangers. That's right, we got Justin, the Blue Turbo Ranger, coming back in action. He has his powers back. It's actually really cool because even though we got a team up in Power Rangers Zeo, this kind of really made up for the lack of team ups, I guess, throughout the years. We could have got one or two more, but this one really gave us three that we weren't expecting, and they worked within the context of helping the series progress. We also got the return of the Phantom Ranger, who I forgot to mention in my Power Rangers Turbo review. And he's a character that didn't show his identity in Power Rangers Turbo. He was around for maybe 7 or 8 episodes, and then he left. And he returns in this season. He's trying to find Zordon, and obviously he doesn't. Apparently there was rumors that like he was supposed to reveal himself in the finale of Power Rangers in Space, reveal his identity, because he had a little fling with Cassie going on, and he kind of made a promise in the first episode of Space that he appeared in, where he was trying to find Zordon. He made a promise to Cassie that they'll meet each other again, but they never did. They kind of lost that storyline. According to Judd Lin, the writer, I was at Power Morphicon 2 back in maybe 2009, maybe 2010, and I remember him saying that someone asked him about the identity of the Phantom Ranger, and he said that they actually never had plans to show the Phantom Ranger's identity. There was a little bit of talk, mostly from Jackie Marchand, who was one of the writers on the show as well, and he said she kind of pushed for it, but nothing ever really came out of it because they didn't really take that seriously as fans wish they would have. And finally, we also got the return of Adam, the second Black Ranger, who also became the Green Zeo Ranger and the first Green Turbo Ranger. Adam returns as the Black Mighty Morphin Ranger one last time. Now, it was revealed in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers at the end of that series that, the power coins were destroyed, and we find out here that even though they were destroyed, the Power Morpher still has a little bit of power left. So he morphs into the Black Ranger one more time with limited power. It doesn't last too long, but it is really cool when it happens. And he teams up with Carlos, the Black Space Ranger. It's really a cool episode for fans, especially of Mighty Morphin, that want to check out a returning Ranger, which was a really good episode. There are a lot of really good episodes throughout the season. We even get the Psycho Rangers, the first official evil team of Rangers, and there might be another evil team down the road. Maybe I'll get to it when we get to that season. But the Psycho Rangers are still talked about today as some of the best evil doppelgangers that the Rangers ever had, and rightfully so. I mean, they lasted a couple of episodes, but they were brought back the following season in the team up, which I'll talk about next time. And I thought their episodes, their saga in this season was okay. I think they shine more next season. Finally, we have the finale of Power Rangers in Space, and the reason why I called it the end of the Zordon era is because Zordon is killed at the end of the season, something that no fan was expecting to happen, and they shocked us. And when I saw this, I could not believe it. I remember literally, I was like in high school, my first year of high school, and I'm watching this, and I couldn't believe that Andros, it was the Red Ranger himself killing Zordon because Zordon told him to, because the only way to destroy all the evil in the universe was that Zordon's energy wave would have to go throughout the galaxy and destroy the United Alliance of Evil. Now in the show, he kind of says it would destroy all the evil in the universe, which you can tell that was a way, because they thought this was going to be the final season. So that was their way of saying, okay, we're going to wipe out all the evil and finish the show here. But obviously they came back for more, because Power Rangers in Space actually rose in the ratings. The ratings actually went up a bit, and the toy sales were high as well. I mean, Power Rangers was now the number one toy line in America, North America at the time. So Space definitely helped that, and maybe it was also because of the turbo change. When people found out that there were these new Rangers taking over, it brought renewed interest to the show, and really helped not having to worry too much about the other stuff. But if you did stick around since Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, you were treated to some really awesome stuff in this season. And the finale is definitely considered one of the best finales of all time. And I felt that if this was the final season of Power Rangers, I would have been okay with it. I would have been like, you know what? 6 seasons, freaking awesome. I loved it. It's still my favorite finale of all time. It's still my favorite season of all time. And that shows how strong and dedicated it is. And I think you will only appreciate it a lot more if you've seen the previous 5 seasons. And with that being said, guys, I'm ending it here. I think everybody should check out Power Rangers in Space. It is the highest rated season on IMDb, I believe, with a 7.2 out of 10, which is, all the other Power Rangers seasons are 6 point something and lower. So I think a lot of people agree that this is one of the better seasons out there. And so if you haven't seen it, go check it out. I'm sorry for spoiling it for you guys, but I warned you. And if you have seen this, comment below and tell me what you thought of Power Rangers in Space. Tell me anything that I might have missed. I wish I could have went into more detail about episodes and stuff like that, but yeah. So with that being said, guys, like this video, follow me on Twitter, Facebook, check out my podcast, and until next time, may the power protect you.